This is my second time driving the Volvo XC40 Recharge. The first time was at a local launch event about 18 months ago. And I almost immediately, absolutely fell in love with the XC40 Recharge. I mean, basically, the XC40 is my favorite Volvo SUV. So you electrify that and you have a recipe. Well, I mean, how can you resist such a vehicle? Now, in the last 18 months, I have driven a lot of electric vehicles and now have come to understand a few more things about them: value, pricing, range, efficiency, value, and all of that. And despite all these other EVs, I'm still so in love with this small, premium electric SUV. But there are problems, obviously. When the XC40 was first announced, and yes, I know there's a C40 as well, I'm not interested in that vehicle. I know it's just a hatch, but whatever. I'm gonna obviously focus on this because that's what I have right now. When it was first introduced, I wondered, along with many others, I'm sure, why Volvo would not fully electrify its, well, I think, pretty sure actually, global bestseller, the XC60. But now, as time has moved on and we're 18 months later, maybe even 2 years since the first introduction of the vehicle, things have become very clear. One of the main issues with the XC40 Recharge is, in Canada at the very least, even in the US, it is excessively expensive. So if you figure that this is their entry-level SUV and it's really expensive, so you take this powertrain, potentially adapt it to an XC60 with everything else that comes with a larger SUV, then you have yourself an electric SUV with a base price that is astronomical. There are probably other considerations, parts supplies or battery availability and so on and so forth, because there would be a lot more volume with the XC60, I assume. So there was a strategy behind selecting the XC40. But pricing is not the only issue, but it is the main issue. Anyhow, we'll touch on that very shortly, as soon we will go for the walk around and then take this really, really cool and handsome XC40 Recharge for a spin. All right, so let's just get right into pricing. Okay, in the US, the base price for the 2022 XC40 Recharge is $51,700. In Canada, $62,265. I know this isn't fair to Volvo, but if you take an Ioniq 5 with the Ultimate package, interestingly enough, I think it's just under $62,000. You get more equipment, more space, about the same power, give or take, a lot more features. I know it's not fair to compare Hyundai to Volvo, Hyundai, whatever, but see the pricing, and that's just the base price. And then there's the plus trim. The base model is called the Core. The mid trim is plus $71,265. And then, oddly enough, the top trim, which is the Ultimate. Okay, so the standard features in the XC40 Core: 9-inch display, 12-inch digital instrument panel, 19-inch wheels, premium textile upholstery, power hatch, Google built-in, and so on and so forth. Now, if you step up to the Plus, you get a massive sunroof, you get power passenger seat, 360-degree camera, plus. And then stepping into the $74,115 Ultimate, you get a heat pump. Yeah, you gotta spend the big bucks to get a heat pump in this vehicle, which is a little bit frustrating. You also get a heated windshield, Harman Kardon audio. That's right, $74,115. And if you factor in the extra paint, you're looking at 72 grand staring back at you in the face. Honestly, it's still a good looking face. Not mine, but it's, I don't know, the proportions of the XC40 remain perfect. The Thor Hammer headlights are just superb. The overhangs are just reasonably sized. I mean, everything about the vehicle just screams superb, and I do love the two-tone paint job. And just the subtle touches, right? So that you know you got a Recharge right there. Recharge twin, referring to the fact that this is a twin engine model, which is standard for all-wheel drive. What else can I tell you about this? Not much else. I mean, let's do the usual tour. As far as the trunk space is concerned, I mean, if you've seen an XC40 video review, 433 liters of trunk space, which is kind of nice. I mean, you know, the width is decent, the depth is good, the height for a small premium SUV. Buttons don't like me. There we go. That works out. There's also a frunk, tiny little frunk thing. I won't show it to you, but it's there. It's kind of half useful. What I do love about the Volvo is the size of the rear door opening. Anyway, I won't touch too much on that because it's old news. It's snug in here, but the kids are really enjoying the power. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a few moments, but look, it's premium, it's beautiful. There's that door cutout, it's massive. Okay, all right. So power passenger seat, there's your Harman Kardon audio. I mean, I love the textures, the materials, the designs. Everything is uber premium as you would expect from a Volvo, including fabulous, fantastic, ultra supportive, really good looking seats. All right, so we slide inside, and here's one thing I love about the Volvo, and it needs to become standard in so many more vehicles, is that like a Tesla, you sit in the seat and it welcomes you. You don't have to start it up, you don't have to do anything, just responds to your presence. 12-inch IP, 9-inch display, so your home button. I'm getting right into it, not wasting any time. Google built-in is okay. You get used to it, the learning curve. I'm starting to get okay with it, but there is still one crucial, critical, inexcusable thing, is that Apple CarPlay is still not available. Look, simple buttons, as we know, various menus. Once you get used to how this whole thing operates, it becomes your friend. But the interior is just sublime. Again, all right, the materials, the touches, visibility is really good when you come over here. Look, storage is decent. Wireless charger in there. Little pouch for, I guess, garbage or your phone. Anyhow. The good stuff is coming soon, and the other small issues also. Let's go. I love that. It greets me, and then it's just ready to go. I suppose I'll just touch on the other mildly negative aspects of the XC40 Recharge. And it's mostly, if not completely, just software related. In the sense that, hello E30, in the sense that the bugs could quickly and easily be fixed with a few updates. I mean, principally, yeah, that's the highlight. It didn't look like much, I guess, on the screen, but I felt that, and you may have heard a clunk. That's my tripod that went flying in the back. Okay, apologies. Is that, well, there are no drive modes, which is not something I would normally complain about. But it's that there's drive, and then there's one pedal drive. And to reach one pedal drive, you have to go through the menus. I should have showed that to you. But when you get to the main menu screen, you have to go into the settings. And you go into the driving. And then you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom and then activate or deactivate one pedal driving, which is an absolute nuisance and pain in the butt if, let's just say, you're working with navigation or you're in the audio menus and then you're about to get onto the highway and you want to get out of one pedal drive. That could so easily be fixed. I don't know. Little button shortcut somewhere on the screen. I mean, 9-inch screen is big enough to fit just one shortcut. The other is well, I mentioned it. It's Apple CarPlay. It's inexcusable, and it should have been fixed a long time ago via an over-the-air update. And you know what? I mean, that's it. Many people will still complain, I suppose, that despite the 78 kilowatt hour battery, The XC40 Recharge is low. 359 kilometer range on a full charge is low. But the reality is that it's plenty enough. I mean, I've driven it all week and I've only plugged it in once on a level 2 public charger for a few hours, and I got it from, I think it was 25 up to about 81, apologies, brain numbers. And it only took about 7.5 hours, which is fine, which is totally and completely acceptable as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the reality is that if you plug it at home on a level 1 charger, well, yeah, it takes dozens and dozens of hours to get a full charge, but you get yourself a level 2 charger at home, and overnight it will always be full and ready for you to go. I mean, and if you are out on the road on a 150 kilowatt charger, you'll go from 10 to 80% in about 38 minutes, which is the norm. I mean, yes, admittedly, 359 kilometers or 223 miles, if memory serves, is on the low average side, which kind of partially plays into, it being unreasonable, in my opinion, for Volvo to ask for so much money for so little range. But I suppose what they don't offer in range, they make up with more power. So the dual motor setup has a 402 horsepower, 486 pound-feet of torque, and when you put the hammer down, I hate it when journalists and YouTubers giggle every time you put the hammer down, but I mean, this is not the fastest EV by any stretch of the imagination I've ever driven, but there's something about these permanent magnet motors that just, I don't know, they're from the seat of the pants, they react in a sharper way than even the electric motors, the boosted ones, in the Mach-E GT Performance Edition. I mean, there's just something. It's a wild ride every time, and this will only cover the 0 to 100 kilometer an hour sprint, I think 4.9 seconds, 0 to 16, 4.7. So it's not that fast, but shoot, in the city, there's no keeping up with this. And obviously, when you drive like a moron like I am, I mean, you'll be consuming, well, right now, real-time average is 28.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, but, I had it up maybe an extra 10 kilowatt hours above that, driving like the moron that I am, but it's so much fun. And that's only part of the equation, because as with the petrol-powered XC40, this has the nicest ride. It is the most comfortable of all three of Volvo's SUVs. It's insane. Look, the bottom line is that this thing is fantastic, but even across the way, if you will, like within Geely, Volvo, Polestar, I mean, there's the Polestar 2, which has an identical layout. Weight is more or less the same, but it's a little bit quicker, not that that really matters, but it does offer an extra 40-45 kilometers of range with the dual motor setup, and maybe has, no, see, this doesn't apply. I was going to say that the Polestar 2 has a little bit more personality, but I prefer this one. But obviously, that's a very personal thing. And then I touched on the Ioniq 5. The EV6 is mind-blowing, and they're all much, much less expensive than this vehicle, and even in their top trims are slightly less expensive than the base XC40 Recharge. Again, possibly not fair comparing a Volvo to a Hyundai or a Kia or Ford, whatever, but that still today remains a reality, as there are still limited amounts of EVs available. Anyhow, yeah, look, I absolutely love this small EV. That's it. I've got nothing else.